Hello family, this is Al Horton from Horton's Hauling. In today's video we're going to talk about tips on purchasing a vehicle at the auction. First of all, we got to identify how many types of auctions there are. There's several different types of auctions for different types of buyers. But I'm just going to address a couple of them, types of auctions, and then we'll just get into the core of what we're talking about. The types of auctions are, there's a public auction, there's a dealer's auction, there's an insurance auction, and also there's a government auction. Each of these auctions serves a purpose. A public auction is for the community, for public use only. Anyone can go to a public auction and you can purchase any kind of vehicle that's at that particular auction. The other auction is a dealer's auction. A dealer's auction is for a dealer, normally for used car dealerships or wholesale dealers. They've purchased their licenses, they did all the paperwork in order to go to this private auction. There also is an insurance auction, which is for most insurance companies when they have cars that's been in accidents and totaled or anything like that. And then there's also a government auction where the government has seized or repossessed vehicles. You can also go there. But this video is going to pretty much focus on the first two, which is the public auction and the dealer's auction. When purchasing a vehicle at the auction, there are some things you need to know. And one of the things I found out dealing with most customers or people in general is you have to know all your fees. One of the most important things about purchasing a vehicle at the auction is that there's a lot of fees. I'm not going to say they're hidden fees, but there's a lot of fees that's entailed when purchasing a car at an auction. One of the first fees is a buyer's fee. That means every time you purchase a vehicle, if you purchase a vehicle for $2,000, there's going to be an additional fee of whatever percentage that location charges for you to purchase. It's called a buyer's fee. Also, there is a tag and titles fee. Most of the tag and titles fees, once you purchase the vehicle, you cannot take it off a public auction lot without having a tag or title. So a tag and title, especially in Maryland here where I'm at, how to walk around a vehicle. Walk around is pretty much what you're doing is you're using an eyeball test to inspect the vehicle when you're walking around. So again, at a dealer's auction, I have my dealer's license. I also do have my dealer's license. The walk around is pretty much we'll check a list of all the cars we're looking to purchase, and we'll begin to start a general walk around. A walk around is just an eyeball test and making sure you see any point out any flaws you see in the vehicle. Normally you start at one end of the car. You start the vehicle up first, and then you begin to get out the car and begin to walk around the car. Walk around slowly with your eyes scanning up and down, checking for the headlights, making sure that they're not dingy. If they're dingy or dirty, that's a cost in order to clean those because it won't pass Maryland State inspection. You're looking for any dents, any scratches. You want to check your windshields. You want to check and see if there's any cracks or any lines in your windshield. Again, that's like a $200 fix. So if you see a crack in your windshield, you can either say, well, am I willing to pay that or go into your next vehicle? You're checking for any bumps or any scratches as you're walking around the vehicle. And I normally start at the passenger side, I'm at the driver's side and walk my way around. You're walking around your back. You want to put your finger inside of the tires and see if you can put your finger in the groove of the tire. If you can put your finger in the groove of the tire, then the tires is pretty good. If you cannot put your finger in the groove, that means you're going to need tires. Again, used tires are $40, $50. New tires are up to $100. So you add this stuff up as you're going along, and you're walking around the vehicle. You're checking the back for bumper damage. You're checking all the tires. You're opening all the manual doors. You're checking the lights. You're checking the power windows and power. See if the power windows are on, the power locks are working properly. And as you're continuously walking around the vehicle, you're checking to see if you see any rust spots that's in the hub of the wheels. And then you want to get to the front of the vehicle. You want to pop the hood. You want to have the car should already be running, so it's getting warmed up. And you're checking for stains. You want to lift the hood up and check and see if there's any white spots on the top of the hood. That means that it might have been an antifreeze leak. That's a tip right there. Antifreeze leak if you see white spots on there. You also want to check around the engine where the oil is to see if there's any oil or oil stains around the oil pan gasket. That means that the oil pan gasket might be leaking oil, or you might need that change. It's not a major problem, but it's a major fix. because a lot of mechanics got to take a lot of the stuff off the top to change the gasket. You want to check your belt. It's only one belt. You want to check your belts. It's one long belt. You want to check and see if it's thick, if it's rusted, if it's not rusted, or does it have any wear and tear on it. You want to check all your fluids. You want to check in, making sure that your fluids are pretty up to standing. You're just looking for just any new or used parts. If it's new parts, that means that some stuff been changed. You want to check the battery, see if there's any acid around the battery. So that's pretty much all you can do as far as the industry is concerned. And as you walk back around the vehicle, when you get into the vehicle, you want to rev it. So you want to step on the gas and rev it up to like 3 to 4 RPM. It go, and if it pops at any time, that means there's some kind of hesitation in the engine. So you want to rev it. If it sounds good, then it's fine. But if you hear go pop 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 pop, then there may be an issue with the engine or some kind of flow. Could be a sensor flow. Of course, you want to check the dash to see if there's any check engine lights on. If you have a check engine light checker, the machine, the device to check it for any codes, of course you want to plug it up and see if there's any codes. You also want to step on the brake, put it in gear, and then step on the gas. And what's going to happen is the car is going to flinch and jump. And what you're checking for is two things. You're checking to see if the engine's going to move. And if it jumps real bad, that means that motor mounts on the engine are loose and that they might need to be replaced. You're also checking to see if the brakes are sturdy. If the car moves while you have your foot on the brake, then your brakes may need to be changed. So there's again another tip when starting the engine. When you also want to put it back in drop park, you want to turn the wheel and see if you heard any squeaking noises. Means anything is rubbing against the belt when you're turning the wheel. Again, another tip that we use as dealers we use to check and see if it's engine. Also, you want to put it in reverse and do the same thing. Step on the brake, hit the gas, see if you're going to jerk, see if you have any tension with your brakes. Again, there are some things to walk around. Again, the minor things you want to check is your radio, making sure that your radio works, your air works. A lot of times you want to cut the air on, you want to cut it on full blast. Make sure you hit the AC button. Make sure you hit the AC button. Make sure it's cooling in there in the engine. And just check and see if the air works. If not, of course, that's $40 to get some Freon. But again, it might be the AC compressor, which that's a $250 thing. So there are some tips on walking around a vehicle. There's a tag and title fee that you must account for. There's also an inspection fee. Again, in Maryland, there's a $70 to $80, $100 inspection fee that all cars in the state of Maryland has to be Maryland State inspection. And once the inspection is done, that's a flat fee. Then there's the repairs that come along with the auction. So you also have to keep that in mind as well. How to inspect a vehicle once you're at the auction. So most of the vehicles or most auctions are in lots. They're in big lots and they have a lot of cars. And then you have to walk around this vehicle and inspect it. So I'm going to give you a couple tips on how to inspect the vehicle. Again, here in Maryland, there's a Maryland State inspection form that you could actually download and print out just to give you a checklist of some of the stuff you should be looking for when you're walking around a vehicle. And then once you do your walk around, there are some certain things you should look for as well as when you walk looking to walk around a vehicle. And third and most important, should you take a mechanic or should you not take a mechanic? Again, my take on that is if a mechanic is available and is not going to charge you a lot of money, because going to an auction takes time and energy. So unless you're going to pay for a mechanic to come out and use their expertise, then you should take one. But if not, then just some simple steps in order to get a walk around and find out exactly what kind of car you should be looking for. Another problem or situation I normally run in is, again, tips for purchasing a vehicle at the auction is know your price range. Always know your price range. Set your price range and stick to it. And always calculate all the fees in your price range. And I always like to give this example of setting your price range. Example. You have $5,000 to purchase a vehicle at the auction. That's all the money you have. That's including all the fees. That's including everything. That's all the money you have. $5,000. That doesn't mean that you can go out and purchase a $5,000 vehicle, because then you're not going to have money or wiggle room for any of your fees and repairs. So what I suggest normally is to always calculate your fees first and then give you a ballpark range of how much money you should or could spend on the vehicle itself. Case in point, you always want to take out 10% for buyer's fees. So again, I would take out maybe $250 to $500 just for the buyer's fee. I would take another $500 out for tag and title. I would take $100 out for an inspection, and I would take another maybe $400 or $500 for repairs. So roughly, I'm taking out $2,000 out of the $5,000 for all my fees. Now, doesn't mean you're going to spend all that money on your fees, but just in case, you're going to need that money for your fees. So that means when I go to the auction, I have my range set. I'm going to spend $3,000 on a vehicle. So I have my list of the vehicles that I'm looking at, and I'm going to look to go no higher than $3,000. That gives me cushion. So if I buy a vehicle for $3,000, I know it's going to be a buyer's fee, so it's going to go up to $3,200 or something like that. My tag and title is going to be another $400, and then my inspection and all that. So I have enough room in order to pay for all of my other fees. So always keep in mind, set your price range and lock in your price range for when you're purchasing the vehicle. Another tip when purchasing a vehicle at the auction, and including your repairs, is once you purchase a vehicle, always get the oil change. That way you know that you have started the cycle of you getting your oil changed and not relying on whether or not it's been changed by whoever had the car before you. So always get your oil changed. If you can afford getting your brakes done, do that as well. If you can afford to get your battery checked, do that as well. The minor stuff, do it ahead of time. That way you know that when you start to drive this vehicle, that you don't have to worry about the brakes, the oil, or the battery going up. Another tip when purchasing a vehicle at auction, always do your due diligence. Have a list beforehand. If you're going to a public auction, you should be able to see the list of vehicles prior to going to the auction. So you want to make sure that you have a list of the vehicles. Know what kind of vehicles you are looking to get. Know what their price range should be. Do some due diligence. Know what kind of mileage you want, and also know what kind of vehicle and year you want. Keep in mind, the higher the year, the higher the price. What I mean is, if it's a 2021, it's going to be 2021 prices. The lower the year, the lower the price. The higher the mileage, the lower the price. So if you get a car with 150,000 miles, it's about average. If you get a car for 200,000 miles, the price will begin to go down, and etc. So always know these things. Also keep in mind that everybody is looking for the same car. I'm also going to do a video on the top list of all the top cars for auction. And again, the number one car is the Honda Accord. So just like you want a Honda Accord, everybody wants a Honda Accord. So the price and the value always are high. So always keep that in mind. Another tip is about the mileage. Not a lot of customers come to me and say, well, that has too many mileage. Oh, that's 100,000 miles. That's too many mileage. It doesn't not necessarily mean that it's too much mileage. This is how you calculate the mileage. For every year of the car, you add 10,000 to 12,000 miles per year. Standard insurance information. So if you purchase a car that's a 2010 and is now 2021, it should have around 100,000 to 120,000. That's a standard amount. And if it's higher than that, then it might be overdriven. If it's lower than that, it hasn't been overdriven. It's underdriven. So always use that calculation. Always multiply the year of the vehicle. Find out how many years of the vehicle times 10,000 or 12,000 or even 15,000. Depends on your range. But 12 or 10 is pretty much the standard. And multiply that times the year of the car, how old the car is. And once you get that number, you compare that to what's on the odometer. That way you know exactly how much mileage has been driven. If it's average, then you're good. It could be below average, which is great. If it's above average, then there's a lot of wear and tear. Another good tip. Another tip is knowing the difference between an auction and a dealership. Sometimes, a lot of times, people want to try to cut the corner and go to the auction because you will save some money than going to a dealership, which is true. However, dealership has its perks as well as auctions has its perks. So you have to know the difference. So when you buy a vehicle at the dealership, you're going to buy a vehicle that's all the fees are included. Everything that you need to worry about as far as buying that vehicle is already taken care of. The dealers take care of that all themselves. They take care of the buyer's fee. They take care of the tag and title. They take care of the inspection. They take care of all the repairs. So everything that an auction doesn't do, the dealership does. However, the price is going to be higher. Another good thing about dealerships is it's a way to establish your credit. Of course, you want to buy a car at a dealership, you're going to have a car payment and you're going to establish your credit. So that's the perks of going to a dealership. You know that if something happens to that car, you can say within a reasonable time, you can take that car back to the dealership and say something's wrong with this car. And it also builds your relationship with that dealership. Now, going to the auction, you eliminate all those fees. So when you go to an auction, you got to expect to pay all those fees that the dealer is going to pay. You're going to spend less in the long run, but you're gonna have to still spend some money up front. You might not have no car payment, but you might have to do your own repairs, and you can't go anywhere to take that car back to a dealership because now you're responsible for all that's detailed with that car. There's different types of dealerships. Most dealerships has finance. You always want to get your car financed where the dealership goes to a bank and gets the loan from the bank to purchase that vehicle. There are some other some other dealerships called buy here, pay here. That means you buy a car at an auction and you pay there. That's normally not going to help you with your credit. What that's going to do is give you a car that's a little bit already, all the stuff is taken care of. It's just you might have a smaller payment or you might have bad credit, and it's not going to help you reestablish your credit. It's just going to help you get the car that you really want. You might pay a little bit more because you're paying it through personal dealership financing. They're taking care of the financing themselves. Another thing I've always run into as far as customers is especially at a dealership. I worked at a dealership for 10 years. And I also had my wholesale license for 7 years. So I've pretty much experienced. There's no such thing as a bumper-to-bumper warranty. There's no such thing as a bumper-to-bumper warranty. It's called an extended warranty. It covers different parts of a vehicle based upon the package you get. There's a factory warranty that comes along with the car based upon its year and its mileage. And then after that warranty is out, you can extend that warranty, add it on, by purchasing extended warranty. That's what it's called. You can get a warranty just for the engine. You can get a warranty for any other kinds of parts of the vehicle. There's in packages. So whenever you go to a dealer, they'll give you, hey, would you like a warranty? And it has what it covers and what is not. My suggestion is you always look that over to find out what it is that you think you need covered. Most of the time, if you're buying a vehicle and you get an extended warranty, it's going to be an additional couple $1,000s. And most of the time, the car does not break down within the time of the warranty. So you're pretty much kind of like maybe wasting a little bit of money getting extended warranty, unless you just like the comfort of knowing that that car is covered even if something happened. However, always get gap insurance. Always get gap insurance. Even at any kind of dealership, always get gap insurance. And what gap insurance is exactly what it is. It's a gap. So say for instance you purchase a vehicle and you finance it. Something happens to that vehicle. You owe a certain amount of money on that vehicle. But the insurance company only appraises it for a low amount. The difference is the gap. Normally, if you don't have gap insurance, you would have to pay that difference. But if you have gap insurance, it covers the difference. So gap insurance is very important. Again, if you have any questions about this video, just leave me a comment. like and share, subscribe. Do what you do as far as the videos is concerned. But if you have any comments, feel free to put them into the chat, and I will definitely be back with another video on the top 10 cars at the auction. The top 10 cars that everyone wants at the auction. Oh, I want the Honda Accord. That's the #1 car. So we already got them up. So I'm gonna give you the rest of the list. Those are just a couple tips for purchasing a vehicle at the auction. It's that time of year. Everyone's getting tax money, stimulus money. Everyone's going to the auction to buy vehicles. The prices go up during this time. Prices go up. People always say, Alfonso, it's a good time to buy a car at the auction. If you can withstand not buying a car now, you're going to save yourself a couple $100. But this is the time everybody's purchasing vehicles. The prices are going up. You do your due diligence, do your homework, because a lot of times, if you don't do your work, you're going to get you a car that you might not like. There's no such thing as a limit law, because in Maryland, you cannot sell a car that's been on limit. You might get a car that needs some work, but you get what you pay for. Again, my name is Alfonso, and I'll see you next time.